You're not losing your mind, but someone very close to you is making sure you think you are. That is the real subject of this video, not manipulation as a concept you have heard about in a psychology class or read in a self-help book. This is about the specific, precise, almost invisible mechanisms that emotionally manipulative people use every single day on people we love them, trust them, and would never suspect a thing. By the time this video ends, you will be able to name what has been happening to you, and the moment you can name it, everything changes. The emotion underneath this topic is not anger, it is confusion. Chronic, exhausting, destabilizing confusion. The kind that makes you question your own memory, your own feelings, your own worth. That is the battleground, and that is where we are going to in this video. Most people imagine a manipulator as someone loud, aggressive, obviously controlling. Someone who screams, who threatens, who is visible dangerous. But the most effective manipulation doesn't look like that at all. It looks like concern, it looks like love, it looks like a joke. It looks like a misunderstanding. And because it looks harmless, you absorb it, you apologize for it, and you moved on, a little smaller than you were before. The first signal is one almost nobody catches in real time. Constant reframing of your reality. You say you felt hurt. They say you are too sensitive. You say something happened. They say you remember it wrong. You express a need. They say you are being demanding. Notice what this does over time. It doesn't just silence you in that moment. It trains you to pre-edit your own feelings before you even speak them out loud. You start living inside a version of reality that was written by someone else. And here's what nobody tells you about that process. The damage is not dramatic. It is quiet. It accumulates like dust. One day you wake up and realize you no longer trust your own perception of events, and you cannot point to a single moment when that happened. And this is the real point. The second signal lives inside what sounds like generosity. Emotional manipulators often give a lot in the beginning. Attention, affection, support, compliments. But this is not giving, this is investing. Because every single thing they offer becomes a debt that they will collect later. The moment you try to set a limit, express displeasure, or simply say no, that archive opens. Everything they have ever done for you is presented as evidence that you owe them compliance. Love becomes currency. And you become the one who is always in deficit. This is why so many people inside manipulative relationships feel guilty when they should feel free. They have been taught systematically that receiving care creates obligation. That saying no is betrayal, that their autonomy is ingratitude. Now, consider this. If someone has the power to make you feel guilty for having needs, do they also have the power to decide which of your emotions are valid? Because that is exactly what the third signal involves, and we see it now. Selective validation. Not all your feelings are dismissed, only the ones that are inconvenient. When you are happy, enthusiastic, agreeable, you receive warmth and connection. But when you are sad, frustrated, uncertain, or when you need something that requires effort from them, suddenly you are too much, too emotional, too negative, too complicated. Over time, you learn to perform the feelings that earn approval and bury the ones that do not. You become a curated version of yourself, optimized for their comfort, disconnected from your own inner life. And the terrifying part, it can take years to realize that the self you have been presenting to the world is not yours. The fourth signal is one of the most disorienting manufactured chaos at critical moments. When you are about to make an important decision, when you are gaining confidence, when you are close to something meaningful, something explodes. A fight erupts out of nowhere. An old wound is reopened. A crisis appears that demands your full attention immediately. The timing never feels like coincidence, but it always looks like one. This is not accidental. The stabilization is a strategy. An emotionally manipulative person doesn't need to stop you directly. They just need to keep you off balance, anxious, distracted, focused on managing the relationship instead of building your life. Ask yourself this: how many of your plans, goals, and decisions have quietly dissolved inside the turbulence of a relationship that always seemed to need you more than anything else? Think about that for a minute. There is a fifth signal that cuts deeper than the rest because it uses your empathy as the weapon. Manipulators do not just create problems, they suffer from them loudly in ways that position you as the cause and the cure simultaneously. Their pain becomes your responsibility. Their moods become your fault. And because you are a compassionate person, because you genuinely do not want to hurt someone you care about, you bend, you absorb, you shrink. This is the cruelest mechanisms of all. It doesn't exploit your weaknesses. It exploits your strength, your capacity for empathy, your sense of responsibility, your desire to repair, your loyalty. Everything good in you becomes the architecture of your own prison. And this is the moment when confusion peaks. Because how do you protect yourself from someone whose pain is real? How do you draw a line when drawing that line feels like abandonment? The answer requires something that most people in these situations have been slowly stripped of: trust in your own perception. But which brings us back to the beginning, to that opening question to the beginning, the one that pointed at something you may have been living for a very long time without a name for it. Recognition is not the end of the story, but it is the beginning of the only story worth living. Because once you can see the pattern, it loses its power. Once you can name what is happening in real time, you stop observing it as truth. The confusion starts to lift, and underneath the confusion, you find something that has been waiting patiently for a very long time: clarity. You are not too sensitive, you are not too demanding, you are not difficult to love. You have simply been inside a system designed to make you believe all of that, because a person who doubts themselves is a person who doesn't live, doesn't resist, doesn't ask for more. The signals were always there. Now you can see them, and seeing them as you know now changes everything.